I'm Bet from BettesMakes, and today we're going to be making some felt flowers that are part of my card making process. So we're going to make a card, and then we're going to make some felt flowers, and we're going to, of course, cut those felt flowers out on the Cricut. You can do it on a Joy, you can do it on an Explorer or a Maker. It doesn't really make any difference because the flowers are small enough. The one other thing you're going to need besides cardstock is some strips of felt, which you can get at the dollar store, plus some brads to hold everything together and a little bit of glue. So let's get started on this project. And you can see on my screen, we've got flowers for felt making here. Let's just close that. This is a template that I have, and I do believe it is available in my resource library. And I'm just going to take this apart. This is a basic cut, and it's going to give us 4 different sizes here, but it is a PNG file. So I am going to have to take it apart to start. So I'm going to click on my shapes. Let's pull up a square. And I'll just put the square over the first one. I'm going to highlight them both. I'm going to come down to the bottom of the layers panel here and click on slice. And we should get that slice out of there. Yes, we did. We've got 1, 2. That's okay by me. We could use a couple of those. And this one, can't see any damage on it, but I'm going to delete it anyway. So we have 2 little ones that we can cut right away. So let's grab this bigger one. So I need that square again. And I'm just going to pull the square over top of it. Looks pretty good. So let's highlight both, and once again, we're going to slice. Just pull this out of the way. I don't need it, and delete it. Now I'm going to have a couple of other smaller, medium-sized ones actually, and then we'll cut this one apart as well. So I'm going to take my shapes, the square happened to go right over top. So let's highlight both and let's slice. That way, delete it, and I do believe we have 2 pieces here, and then all we have left is this one, and I will simply duplicate it. So this is enough to make 2 flowers. But what I want to do is I want to make these bottom ones sort of a brown color, so it is the back of it. So these 2 are going to be brown in color, so take those 2. These are both basic cut. And I'm just going to change this to brown so that we can keep them differentiated. And these ones are all going to get cut out of yellow. But I am going to put it on the same pad. So we are pretty good to go here. Let's go basic cut. I'll make it a gold color. You can kind of see where those are, where they're going to cut. We will flatten them all just to make sure the cut is just one piece. I'm just going to move them out of the way because we do need to have a card blank available for us. So let me just move these out of the way. So this is the flower that's going to go on top, but now we need a card. So once again, I'm going to my shapes. I'm going to pick on a square, and I'm going to come up here where it says size, or you can use this lock down here, unlock it here. You'll see that it's unlocked at the top. And the reason I want to unlock it because I want this one to go for 11 inches. And deep wise, I want it 5.5 inches. And the reason I go 5.5 is so it'll fit on a joint. I'm going to lock it into position. That is great. Change that color. I'm going to make it nice and orange because we're going to make this a Halloween card. And I have a piece of scrap that I can use for this. So let's go ahead and get a score line to go down the middle. And I know the Joy does not have score lines, but you can change this to a draw line to get it exactly where you need it. So this score line, the height has to be 5.5, which is the depth of our card. Now we have to center it here. And all I do to center is I select both of those items, and then I'm going to align them, center horizontally, and I'm going to align them center vertically, and everything is in position. Remember, if you're using a Joy, you want to take this and change it to a draw line. Now the 2 of them together looks absolutely perfect. We are now going to attach it. Now, one other thing that we can do, which might be a little unique, we can cut a little shape out of this, and then we can have flowers poke through from the inside of the card. So we could use a couple of the smaller flowers on the inside just to give it a little bit something different. So I know I'm going to have to unattach this momentarily, but what I want to do now is I want to take another shape, and I am going to do a square. And we're going to position this so we get a nice little outline here. It looks pretty darn good. So what I want to do is I want to cut this out. I think I would like to make it a little smaller. I'm going to unlock it. I want to just like a little box that will fit, approximately here. That looks really good. I'm going to lock it. Now, if I selected both of these, you'll notice that I can no longer slice it because we have this extra piece. Now, instead of unattaching something, I'm going to show you a little trick. See the score line here? If I hide this and I select both of these, I didn't have to unattach anything, but now you'll see that slice is available. Let me do that one more time. So I'm going to click on this line. So this is how we had it when we selected both. You had no slice. I come up here to where they're attached and turn the eyeball off so that line doesn't appear, and then I select both. You'll notice that slice is now available. So I'm going to click on slice. Now I'm going to have the window part, which I'm going to delete, and I'm going to move the card part, and I can delete this piece. Now you may be wondering, I'm moving this around. What's going to happen to your score line? Well, it's already attached. So all I have to do is click on the eyeball again for the score line, and it's going to come back into position. Now I go score. Where we go here. Now these were all attached together right there. There's our score line. And we have our basic cut, which has gone to the top. So I'm just going to drag this down below our attach result here. It should fit right about here. And I move it to the back. Our score line comes to the top. Now, all I did was drag it down, or I could have clicked on it and moved it to the back. But this is already attached. This is one piece. Oh, I just moved the card. Okay, so let's go back to our score line here. I'm sorry, I messed that up, but that happens. Okay, so let's go back to a line, center horizontal and center vertical. Let's just make sure it's attached. I moved it out of the attachment, so that didn't work. Okay, there we go. We have that in place. Now I can move it around. It's not going to happen. So now we're going to have this nice little cutout. And then we're going to be able to arrange the flowers inside. Excuse me. So the next thing we want to do is we want these larger flowers. Now you'll see how it's way too big to come through here, and we want a couple of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this smaller. So it actually fits in that window. And I'm going to have to do the same thing with this one. You'll see how big they are. So maybe I'll make it a lot smaller. Let's put this out of the way. I'm going to make these about the same size, not quite. So these are our smaller brown ones that are actually going to fit inside here. I'm just going to take this whole thing and I'm going to arrange it, and I'm going to send it to the back just so I can play with these. There we go. So I'm going to have a couple of flowers showing through here, and we may place them. Now that means all of our yellow parts are also going to be too big. So let me take first one, and I'm going to place it over top here. So I know those small ones are going to be a lot too big, and then we have other ones, and my goodness, they're going to be too big. So I'm going to make them a lot smaller, just so I can place them on top here. So that looks pretty good for that one. And I'm going to take this one, and it's going to be the same. So instead of trying to find the same size, I am going to delete this one, and I'm going to take that one and I am going to duplicate it. Now I have ones that'll fit inside there. So our last piece here are the other ones. So I'm going to get rid of 3 of these. I'm going to delete them. These ones have to fit inside of the next one. So I'm going to just make them a bit smaller and see if that fits inside. It does. And I only need 2 of those. So I am going to duplicate it. The easiest thing is when you want things the same size. So now what's going to happen is when we cut this one out, we're going to attach it to here, which is going to attach to here. So we actually have 3 different layers. Now, my biggest issue with this particular one is the fact that we have a few extra little edges that are showing out on the yellow. Well, I can see contour here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to contour it. And this is where you're going to see the extra edge. I am going to hide all the contours. And then I am just going to click the X and it's become one yellow flower. I'm going to do the same with this one, even though I could just duplicate it, just to show you. The contour has 2 different edges. I'm going to hide all the contours. And now we have the 2 yellow ones. Now I'm just going to double check to make sure these don't have extra lines. I'm going to click on the contour and they do. So I'm going to click on hide the contours. And just click the X. That will be yellow as well. And the same thing's going to happen with this one. It is contour, hide all contours. And we're good to go. So we have 4 of these nice yellow petals. Now the brown ones, we're going to check the contour. And once again, we have the same issue. So I'm just going to hide them all and that will become brown. And I am just going to move this one out and delete it. I am going to duplicate this one and these ones will fall into place. So I'm going to cut 2 of these and 2 of these and 2 of these and 2 of these. So we actually have a 3 layered petal. Now it's not going to take much material and you can use, some smaller pieces. To be on the safe side, just in case it messes up, I am going to duplicate the whole thing. I just move them out of the way. So I have 4 flowers and that way I can decide whether I want more or less. So I am going to cut these from felt and this from cardstock. So let's save our project. And this is felt flowers on a card. And it's my October make. They are nice colors for the fall. Save that. I can click on the little check mark here to make the blue go away. And I'm going to go over here and turn on my Cricut. And click on Make It. And these will be on matte. Now I have my 4 brown ones appearing here. And I have all of my yellow ones appearing here. Well, I want to do them on the same mat. So it's much easier to move these 4 than to move the other ones. So I'm just going to move object and I'm going to the yellow mat. I'm going to confirm it. There's that brown one. I'm just going to move it to the bottom. And then I'm going to do the same with the other 3. And the reason I'm moving them is because I only want to cut on one mat. I don't want to load multiple mats. And I have 2 more to move. So we're going to hit that ellipse and move the object. Confirm. Goes down here and 1 more to go. And that will eliminate one of the mats from my cut and confirm that one. And just bring it down to the bottom. This enables me to put the felt on the top and the felt on the bottom in 2 different colors. And you'll see that just a minute when we go over to the demo table. So that will eliminate the first mat. So I only need 2 mats. I don't need mirror on, and I have a 12 by 12. And then I have my piece of cardstock, which is under 6 inches. It was 5.5, so this will fit on the joy as well. And remember, with the joy, you want to make this a draw line just so you can see where to fold it. And we have our cutout. So we are ready to go. I'm going to click on continue. And I'll hit on the first one here. So this first one, I'm going to browse all my materials, and then I'm going to type in felt. Now, felt, stiff, felt, wool, bonded, stiff, glitter, bonded, felt, acrylic, fabric. No, I'm just going to pick on felt, and hopefully it'll cut through. We're going to find out. Click on done. And then when it changes to the next mat, I have to remember to change my mat out. Right now, it just wants the fine point blade. We're going to go ahead and we're going to cut this. So I'm just going to stop my share. And then we're going to go over to our demo table. So in our demo table, I have my machine. I have my felt on to my fabric mat. This is the pink mat. So this is a little bit of felt on both. And these felts are just from the dollar store. They're the felt rolls. They work out really well for a lot of smaller projects you want to do. I have my tacky glue. I have a set of brads, and of course a pair of scissors and a pen. And of course I have my Cricut okay, everything should be loaded up. Just going to pull this forward a bit. Now for this first one, all I needed to have was, of course, my fine point blade and the fabric mat. So I'm just going to load my mat. Going to have to change the material type for this one. So it's going to a medium cardstock, and of course it wants the scoring wheel. So I will pull my blade out. I have my little tool jar here. In my scoring tool. And we should be good to go. I'll just move that out of the way. Okay, looking for fine point blade. All right, we've cut all the pieces that we need. So I'm just going to click on finish. And just make sure everything was saved. It is. And I'm just going to close design space so that we can concentrate on putting things together. Okay, so I'm going to turn this off. Shut it gently. Push it to the back. There we go. So now we have everything that we're going to be working with. I'll start by removing, I'll just move this out of the way, the card from the mat. Remember, it's roll the mat from the card. And the reason being is you don't want to have that card. So we have some extra pieces that we could do something with while we're working on this. And of course, I'll just pull that extra piece off. And I want to protect my mat. So I'll immediately put on my mat protector and just move that out of the way. So we have an extra piece here and here. I'm just moving those out of the way. Sorry, I didn't mean to move that out of the way. Now we have our next pieces, which are the felt. Now it's always going to make a nice little mess around the felt. As I can see, it didn't come cleanly through. So I'm going to show you how to solve that one. So I'm just going to pull it. This is cheap material, so I do have some debris on here I will have to clean. Let's just see if we can pull these from here. Looks like I cut it most of the way through. There we go. It's just a couple little edges. Felt is a little harder to work with than a lot of the materials. So I just pull this away. It has a lot of extra little fibers and threads that we don't necessarily want to have. So I'll just pull these away. And by the way, these flowers don't have to be perfect because we are going to glue them. Let's see if I can pull away from here. Yeah, it's just pulling it now. These extra threads. I'm only going to pull enough for what we need, and then I'm going to use our scissors to just trim it up a little bit. No, that looks pretty good. I want a second one here. The rest of it looks just fine. Okay, our flowers are all cut out and ready to go. Now we have our card, and this card, this is going to be the front of the card. So I'm going to find my score line here. I'm going to use my scraper. Now we can add a greeting to this, but what we want to do is actually place the flowers in here like this and stack them one on top of the other for a really different look. Now I could glue these pieces together and just have them that way, or I can use a brad. So let me just place these to start. This is something you want to do that looks a lot different. Now I know you can hardly see that, but we are going to pull it together. Now what I have is I have all kinds of different brads here. When I see them, I've got stars here. These are little black and white with a little flower in the center. That might look pretty cute in there. But I also have other types of brads here as well. And I think what I'm going to use is some of my nice little flower brads. Now what I want to do initially is just poke the brad through all the layers here. And I know it's going to be a little tough to see, so I'm going to use one of my weeding tools, and I'm just going to poke a hole. That's just so I can get the brad through it. Just get the brad straight. Just going to go through the hole. There we go. And I'm not going to straighten it out right now because what we're going to do is we're going to put a couple of these together. Get that hole going. There we go. And I used an orange one there, so let's use a blue one for this one. And just get the edge of the brad right through the hole. So it's poking through. Now we are going to tighten this. Now, one of the things we can do is we can put the brad right through the paper if we wanted to, and then tidy it up on this end, or you can just simply take the brad like this, and then we can just glue this piece down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend these little pieces up so we have an actual flower. And you can add other embellishments. You can add some ink to it. You can add some pen color just to show something different that you can do with this. So let's do one more thing with this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use maybe a brown colored pen, a gel pen. I'm going to use my Cricut pens here. And we'll pick on something, a nice color that's going to be a little contrasty with it. So maybe I will pick up on some red. I'm just going to pick on a red pen. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit the edge here, just so it has a little more definition. So you can see the insides of that flower, little red pieces, and then you can pick on a different color for the next size in. So these ones are on a red color. You could use a distress stamp pad if you wanted to. I'm just going to pull those in. They're sort of the reddish color. And then you can add another color to the next ones. But I think that's pretty good for what we want. I'm going to do the same with the next one. I'm going to open up that brad at the back, and I'm just going to twist things up so it sits up a little better. And I'm going to find the edges of this one and just sort of add some color to the edges. Give it some definition. Now these cards are a little different than just gluing things together and making them look pretty. You're actually adding a little crafting touch to everything you're doing on this one. So let's just get these. I think there's one more in there. There it is. If you don't like the red, you can pick on another color. This one looks pretty good. Yeah, we're good to go here to get that nice definition. Let's put the pen aside. Now we are ready to decorate our card. So I had suggested that we didn't have to put the brad all the way through, but we could do the glue. So what I'm going to use is Aileen's original tacky glue. All I want to do here is just make sure that I've got it all in the center, and I'm going to give it a nice big blob because I do want it to be very 3D. And it's going to have to dry in place. So I'm just going to stick it in the center here. And the same thing with this one. Just a nice big blob. And we're going to stick this one down here on the card. This is going to look really sharp. I know you're going to really love this one. It is a very much of a 3D card, so you're adding other pieces to it as you go along. Now you probably want to add a greeting at the bottom. Now handwriting always goes over extremely well. And since we have autumn colors, I think maybe I'll pick on one of these gel blues, and I'm just going to put welcome. Fall. And that's all you need on there. And I mean, you can put little things for yourself if you want. Just like that. You can add other little pieces to it, but that is a cute little card. And then when you open up you can put things like "you are invited." It is so personal when you do things like this. So this is our little felt flower card. I hope you really enjoyed making this. It was a lot of fun. Just remember, sometimes the cut won't go through, not to worry about it, because you don't want it to look like a stark, even type flower. Flowers are not that way. Flowers are not perfect, and you can use the brad in the center. So I hope you really enjoyed making this, and until next time, happy crafting.